This is WAB's Week in Review, the show where we look back the last few days of stories from your WAB News team. I'm Alex Helmick, managing editor of WAB News. Coming up later on the show, jury selection is wrapped up on the trial of the father of the alleged Apalachee school shooter. He faces 29 counts, including 2 counts of second-degree murder, and is one of a handful of parents around the country charged with crimes after their children are accused of committing acts of violence. We look at another case of an alleged school shooter and the parents facing charges. But first, unsealed affidavits related to the FBI raid on the Fulton County elections hub shows it's part of an investigation into so-called deficiencies or defects in the 2020 vote count. As WAB's Raul Bali told us, it's part of President Donald Trump's unfounded claims of election fraud in Georgia.
The FBI investigation originated from a referral by White House employee Kurt Olson. He's a lawyer who aided Trump's efforts to try to overturn the 2020 election. Fulton County Board of Commissioners Chair Rob Pitts calls the accusations lies that have national implications.
Because this is not just about Fulton County, as I've said from day one. This is a national effort, and he's using the term to nationalize elections. What does that mean? Having the federal government run elections.
The FBI seized hundreds of boxes of 2020 election documents last month. Lawyers for Fulton County who filed the motion to unseal the affidavits also want those documents returned. Raul Bali, WABE News.
Fulton County lawyers filed a legal request for more details on what exactly the FBI took during that raid on the county election office in Union City. An earlier filing led to that unsealing of the affidavit that we just mentioned. It seized hundreds of boxes of 2020 election documents. Commission Chair Rob Pitts said the county wants them back.
We want copies. We want to know what's there. And it's typical, as I understand it, for copies to be made so we'll know what they took, what was contained in those 700 boxes.
The unsealing of the affidavit showed the FBI investigation originated from a referral by the White House, again, over unfounded claims. Well, Oakwood city leaders are asking the federal government to pause plans to use an industrial warehouse for an immigrations and customs enforcement processing facility. As Christopher Alston told us, it's one of at least 2 new ICE facilities being added to Georgia's already extensive immigration detention network.
Oakwood City Manager B.R. White says a phone call from a Washington Post reporter was the first the city government learned of the plan. White says he spoke to the district's representative, Andrew Clyde, on Monday, confirming the federal agency plans to close on the property within 2 weeks. This comes after leaked Department of Homeland Security documents identified another warehouse ICE plans to use in Social Circle.
We understand that this facility will feed the facility in Social Circle, Georgia.
In a press release, city officials say while they support ICE's mission, they're concerned about the lack of communication and the impact on the community. They cite the potential burden on police, insufficient sewage capacity, and lost tax revenue. White says not a single public comment, email, or call he's received from residents has been in support of the plan.
The feedback has all been negative. We have a large Hispanic community here, and they're a valued asset to our community.
A DHS spokesperson says when an agency adds personnel, it needs more space, but declined to confirm the Oakwood location. Christopher Alston, WABE News.
The DeKalb County School District is floating tentative plans to close 27 schools due to under-enrollment. WAB's Mei Shu had more.
DeKalb County's public schools have around 18,000 empty seats. In a new plan unveiled Thursday, 3 high schools would become middle schools and 5 middle schools would become elementary schools. 1 middle school and 26 elementary schools would be closed. Angira Susi is the executive director for public education nonprofit Redefine Ed Atlanta. She says schools have closed across the country due to declining birth rates.
My advice to any district looking at this, consolidations are hard, closures are hard, and keeping students at the center it's the right thing to do, and it also will ensure stronger outcomes over the long run.
Community members can provide feedback through a survey on DeKalb County School District's website or by attending upcoming meetings. Mei Shu, WABE News.
A bill to shield Georgia carpet companies from lawsuits claiming they've contaminated the environment with hazardous chemicals has passed an important milestone at the state capitol. WAB's Marissa Mecki explained.
House Bill 211 didn't make it very far last year after public backlash from Georgians saying the lawsuit would let carpet companies who used and profited off a family of chemicals called PFAS off the hook for pollution. But this week, the House Judiciary Committee approved it. Member and Republican Representative Trey Kelly says,
and I've worked to try and strike what I think at least may be a proper balance
between the folks who PFAS has harmed and are now seeking legal solutions and the companies that use the chemicals. A different Republican-backed bill that sought to boost transparency by having companies report to water utilities the PFAS they use failed last year. Democratic Representative Stacey Evans asked the committee whether environment and science groups with more knowledge on PFAS were included in the bill writing process, and Kelly said no. Evans says that concerns her, especially since the bill was called last minute.
There's a lot of expertise that comes to bear when we're discussing scientific things like this. You not share my concern that we're now debating this here with no notice to the public for them to come and make their voices heard.
The next step is for the whole Georgia House of Representatives to vote on the bill. Marissa Mecki, WABE News.
Well, jury selection finished this week in Georgia for the trial of Colin Gray. He's the father of the teenager who's accused of shooting and killing 2 students and 2 teachers and injuring 9 others at Apalachee High School in 2024. Authorities claim Gray gave his son the AR-15 rifle that was used in the shooting for Christmas and then failed to keep it secure. He faces 29 felony counts. WABE's criminal justice reporter Shemaine Cruz is covering the trial. She spoke with Quinn Kleinfelter of WDET in Michigan about the case there that created a path for parents like Gray to be prosecuted on charges related to their child's actions.
Jennifer and James Crumbly's teenage son Ethan was convicted of carrying out the deadly shooting at Oxford High School in 2021. What happened in the parents' cases?
They were held liable that a reasonable person would have been able to look at some of the issues they were dealing with their son in terms of his what has been now termed cries for help that they supposedly didn't try to accommodate, that they didn't try to take him even to be looked at by a counselor, but instead, according to one report in like one of his own journals of shooters, I think he said that his father told him, or he said his father just gave him some pills and told him to suck it up and ignored his continuing spiral into what appeared to be violent tendencies, which again, the parents said that they never had any inkling of. However, the judge and the jury has decided that a reasonable person would have looked at some of these same signs, and the judge at one point said it would have made the hair stand up on the back of your neck if you were just looking at them from an objective point of view. So they were saying that the parents should have definitely done something about that to try to address it, and that instead they were more concerned about other issues and then bought their son a more high-powered pistol that he could use as a Christmas present. And then they said that they did not properly store it.
And so can you tell me a little bit more about what was unusual about the decision to prosecute the parents in that case?
The overriding idea that a parent would be responsible for what their child does and needs to bear some kind of accountability after such a thing happens, like a mass shooting, is something that had not legally been pursued in regards to mass school shootings, according to the courts or the prosecutors. And that it's something that afterwards, the jurors and the families of some of the victims said that while it would not come close to bringing back their lost loved ones, that it could at least be a lesson, that it could be a warning for other parents to watch what they're doing even far more closely than perhaps they already had, because they didn't want to have to face these types of charges, let alone all the other things that go along with it, all the tragic circumstances and the loss of life.
What else do you think we can learn from the Crumbly cases, and what should we watch out for in Georgia?
In this case, Ethan Crumbly, the school shooter, who was 15 at the time, had timed out. He'd researched just how long it took for first responders to get to the scene of such a shooting, and went down the hall, shot people methodically, walked back down the hall, walked into a bathroom and shot people, killing them, and then came back out in the hall and had checked the time and took his gun, sat it on a wastebasket nearby where it was in plain sight, and obviously he didn't have it, got down on his knees and put his hands up and waited for the first responders to arrive. Again, this is something that doesn't typically happen in any kind of a mass school shooting. And from his recordings and journal entries and other things, the clear inference was that he wanted to see the aftermath of the shooting that he had done. He wanted to see people suffering and see the pain or consternation that had caused. I think that was one of the things that set this case apart and why it set up the parents to be not easily, but to set them up to be on a path to being convicted for involuntary manslaughter.
That was WABE criminal justice reporter Shemaine Cruz talking with Quinn Kleinfelter of WDET in Michigan. And you're listening to WABE's Week in Review with me, Alex Hummick. Well, after more than 3 decades as Southwest Atlanta's go-to African-American bookstore, Greenbriar Mall's MEDU Bookstore will close this summer. MEDU's bookstore, Nia Damali, says she's ready to retire. Recently, WABE's Jim Burris stopped in to talk with her about that decision and what closing the final chapter feels like.
Take me back 35 years ago when you decided, I'm going to go into this venture, I'm going to open a bookstore. What was that moment like?
Oh my gosh, that moment is even longer than 35 years. I came to Atlanta in '82 to finish school at Clark College. I was offered a job at one of the bookstores here, and I just worked at the bookstore until I graduated. I was supposed to go to corporate America, but corporate America wasn't ready for me. So I decided that I wanted to stay in the business of the book business. I came to Greenbriar Mall about 32 years ago, first vending with the National Black Arts Festival, and I was offered an opportunity to open up a store, and I've been here since.
In any venture, there are highs and lows, good times, bad times. Mm-hmm. What was the hardest time?
The moment of now, having to make that decision to retire, even though I love the business and my customers have been great to me, but I know it's time for me to move forward.
Why?
Because my body's telling me it's time to move forward for personal health reasons, me reasons, yeah.
It's just time.
It's just time.
You've been such an important staple in the African-American community in Atlanta for so long. Is there a fear that there will be a void when the bookstore closes?
Yes. According to my customers, many of them are saying, oh no, Sister Nia, you can't close. We really need you to stay open in this moment of time. I've had people to reach out and say, what can we do to keep you here? Yeah. So this has been a interesting year. So yes, I am concerned.
In a broader sense, MEDU means the power of the word.
Yes.
What is the power of a local Black-owned bookstore?
The power would be to make sure that you are passing forward knowledge, information that could uplift a community, a family, an individual to move forward. So this has been a long assignment and journey for me, and I've enjoyed it. And I feel like I've done the bulk of my work. Dear one, let me know, you ready for me?
Here we take a quick break from our conversation so Nia can help Joy Henderson, who is at the store with her son Elijah. As Nia bags up their selections, I notice Joy's eyes have welled up, and I ask her why.
Like, I had no idea I would become emotional coming in here after learning that the bookstore is closing. So now I'm kind of, I don't know how I feel right now as I'm talking to you. I'm trying to work through it because I didn't anticipate feeling like overwhelmed with emotion, but I don't have another bookstore home. There's just such a small community of Black bookstores that stay true to their essence, and then it speaks to all the different types of people that we are.
Take care.
As Nia and I sit back down to continue the conversation, I ask her about that powerful moment that we had just experienced. What are your feelings when a customer has a reaction like that to what you do?
I listen and I show gratitude and appreciation. And I just say thank you.
WAB's Jim Burris speaking there with Nia Damali, the longtime owner of MEDU Bookstore in Greenbriar Mall. That's all for the show this week. My thanks to the WAB News team for all the great work. For more, go to WAB.org or get the WAB app, where you can see all our stories, listen to live radio, watch live TV, and catch up on our podcasts and events. The WABE app. I'm Alex Helmick. Thank you for supporting WAB and for listening to The Week in Review.